For the cash cow that Magic the Gathering is really truly being treated as, WotC has managed to hit the nail on the head with Ravnica Allegiance. Welcome to Commonly Good. Hello everyone, welcome to Commonly Good. My name is King's Knight. So before we get started off with the whole show, I do want to let you know that I do apologize for not getting out the video sooner than expected. Mainly, my job got a bit in the way. It comes pretty much first at this point in time until we get to be bigger as a channel, and I can actually legitimately say that my channel supports a larger part of my financing. But at this time, I still want to give you guys great content, and that's the other reason why it takes me a little bit of time to get something out for you. This series, Commonly Good, is here for you guys to see and experience and even discuss with me in the comment section down below about some of the top commons to hit both Standard, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, as well as Pauper and Commander. So without any further ado, I just want you to sit back and relax, enjoy the show. Make sure you hit that like button so I know that you do enjoy this type of content and you want to hear more of it. I really do enjoy making it for you. So, without stopping, let's go into the runner-ups for Ravnica Allegiance. 3 runner-ups came up for this series. This time it was essentially a pretty close tie in sense of I really liked these cards and they were a lot of fun to there's a big list. Needless to say, it's a big list that I went through, and these 3 guys just didn't hit the muster for me, although they were really close to number 5 in many aspects. So the first one is Grotesque Demise. Grotesque Demise is an instant speed 3-cost removal in black, 1 black, 2 colorless, that reads exile target creature with power 3 or less. It's a good card. It's really good and limited. It's going to be a good Pauper card. I don't know if it's going to be picked up anytime soon, considering that there's so many other standard legal cards that just do better than this. They're lower in cost, and some of them even hit Planeswalkers, and they destroy them. Granted, it's not an exile. This is a bit limiting because of the fact that it only removes creatures with power 3 or less. Although it does remove a lot of those big, large back-end creatures, which is good. You know, the creatures with the big butt, it helps get rid of that stuff, as long as they have a low power. Number 2 on the runners-up list here is Stony Strength. Now, this card's pretty dang good. I mean, at instant speed, it allows you to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature and then untap it. It's pretty high up there in power, especially when it comes down to green. I'm impressed with this card. There's just it was just so tight in the runnings for these cards that this one just didn't make it up in there. And we'll get into that. I'll talk about that in a moment, because the other third card that's on here is Quench, which is a really good control card. This is like Mana Leak. This is much similar to Mana Leak, except for it costs 1 colorless less, and it only counters based on 2 colorless payment instead of 3. Very good card. It's an early game shutdown. I've actually had it played against me quite a few times in Arena. That and Stony Strength in Arena. They're both pretty good cards. They both provide a great either offensive or defensive stance within the game. They're really enjoyable to play against. Fun to see on the field. They're not annoying or overpowered in any way. They're very well balanced. Although I do think Stony Strength is a bit overpowered, just to be completely and utterly fair. Now, just so you know, what I take into consideration for all these cards is a combination of value, power, type of cards, and general likability within the meta. So playability. That's the reason why sometimes my videos are going to come out a little bit later, because I'm going to look at the meta, especially if I'm going to be doing a commonly good that's based on the current standard meta. I want to see what commons are being really frequently played, and these ones were, I mean, Grotesque Demise is not, I've not seen that much of it at all, except for in draft. It's a very powerful draft card. Quench is 2 in draft. It's another pickup that's pretty good for control. You have 1 or 2 of them in your sideboard or your main board for the game. Stony Strength, I've run into that in Arena, on Ranked, as well as Quench. So, you know, they're seen there. The next card is number 5 on the list. Now, number 5 on the list is Imperious Oligarch. This is a card I've seen pretty frequently because we have vampires right now, and this is actually one that they fit in there, even though it doesn't really fit in with the full-on vampire theme, but it does fit in with the full-on Orzhov theme of Afterlife. So there's some people that are running the Afterlife decks. I've seen it in some vampire decks. It didn't really mesh in there for me, but its power level is pretty on par. Considering the fact for 2 mana, granted it is color intensive, that's why I didn't score a little bit higher on my list to me. Being that it's a 2-color setup, it's a little bit harder to get out turn 1 or turn 2 sometimes, because it's very dependent on those colors, obviously. However, a 2-drop 2/1 vigilant creature is pretty powerful. To also provide you with an ability that is just as powerful, Afterlife, which it's got Afterlife 1, so basically it stays on the battlefield. It may leave, but it leaves you behind a spirit, provided it's not exiled. But if it's destroyed, killed, or anything, or sent to the graveyard in any way, this is a card that gives you a spirit on the battlefield, so you still have something for defense. I mean, for 2-drop, it's like not exactly like having Lingering Souls or anything like that, but it's pretty powerful of a card. And it's caused a lot of issues for me when I've played going up against it, just because you don't want them getting the Afterlife. Because if they manage to get rid of your creatures, now they have a flyer. Or if you got a couple creatures that are on the ground that are bigger than it, they don't care if they got enough life. They're just going to fly over and hit you for 1 each turn. You don't want to get domed. And that's really kind of a pain. Next one on our list is our number 4 card, and I really do like this card. Clear the Mind. I mean, I love cards that provide you card draw and card advantage, and this is actually a pretty solid card advantage card, because not only does it provide you card advantage, but it gives you the ability to shuffle your library into your graveyard into your library. So you get a shuffle effect, you get your graveyard back, so you get a full deck built back out again, minus anything that's exiled, and then you get to draw a card, all for 3 mana. The only thing that would make this thing more powerful, and it would probably make it is just as valuable of in price values as practitioners, would be as if they would make this an instant. If this could be played during my opponent's turn, if they're trying to utilize a mill strategy against me, and for the win they go to pass a turn, I respond with an instant speed Clear the Mind instead of a sorcery speed, and shuffle my graveyard. I mean, there goes their game. This card is already powerful as a sorcery. Very powerful. So in order to balance it, they had to make it a slower speed. Because if it was anything faster, this card would be overpowered. I would definitely be like, it needs to be banned in a way, just because of its shuffle ability and its graveyard into library ability. And then on top of that, you get that draw card. It's just so good. I've seen it played once or twice in a few decks. It's more fringe in standard. I have a feeling it'll probably be picked up. It might be picked up in modern as a cheaper alternative to other cards that provide you with the ability to shuffle cards in your library. It's definitely going to be a commander card. It'll be played in a lot of blue commander decks. I think people will find a way to utilize this pretty effectively. Number 3 on our list is one of my personal favorites, actually, and it's Burn Bright. Burn Bright is, for all intents and purposes, this is straight up Pauper. This is straight up Pauper and straight up limited. It's a 3-drop instant speed card that gives creatures you control +2/+0 until end of turn. In my opinion, in red, that is extremely powerful. If you're going straight up red aggro for the win, even in modern red aggro, red deck wins or something where you're running mostly just creatures to swing through and hit damage for. This on turn 4, turn 5, after hitting your opponent for probably between 2 and 3 per turn for a few turns, you drop this down turn 4 when you swing through and they don't really block those 3 creatures. It's a heavy hit to the head, because your opponent really doesn't know how to react to it at that point in time, especially if they might have extended all their mana. It's very powerful, and in Pauper, I can see this picking up pretty heavily. The only thing that would have made this card better, but then it would have made it way too powerful, is if they added Trample on into it. I honestly think that if they added Trample, it would have become a rare. Probably would have been a rare level card, if not even a rare, like, if it was an uncommon, you probably wouldn't see it as much. It's just definitely, it's powerful as it is. To add more to it just would have really, I think it would have put it way over the top. And this card, people would have been complaining about it by now, because Red Deck Win would be way more powerful than it already is. Just like Quench. Quench is in the Teferi decks. I've seen one or two of them in the Teferi decks. It's great for early game. Burn Bright is another card that I've seen fringe in these decks that are being aggro and stuff, because when they swing through on turn 4 and you might not have anything in the field, this is a close to a win condition for him. Really close. So that's my number 3. My number 2, and I guess you guys could probably already guess it, is Growth Spiral. Growth Spiral is... wow. It's been a while since Wizards has provided us with a card that provides us with an additional land drop in a turn. And then they paired it with a draw effect too. For 2 mana. That's very... to me, that's really pretty powerful. This card could have been a uncommon, and it would have made sense to me. And the reason why I say it would have made sense is because of the power level that this card is at. It's instant speed. I can do this during my opponent's turn and get a land drop. So if I have like 3 mana down and I'm really looking for a Quench to hit my opponent who's maxed out, and I have a land in hand, but I'm just trying to draw to try to get a Quench, or I have the Quench in hand along with the land, and you know, I don't want my opponent to know that I have the Quench, or to even flash it on the field, that I have 4 lands open, or even 2 lands open. This card with 3 lands open allows you to play some more with the game and really play this whole cat-mouse game with your opponent. It allows you to have some pretty interesting options. You know, if you have that 3 mana open, like I said, you can cast 2, drop the extra land, play the Quench, and your opponent wasn't even expecting any of that, and you just got a draw effect. This fits in perfectly with Simic. It fits in with the majority of any blue-green deck that runs it. It's just very powerful in and of its own. The big things that does hinder it is the fact that it is a blue-green card. It is color dependent. It's not a bad thing, I don't think. It just means that it doesn't hit, it's not as versatile and hit as many decks as it possibly can. However, the number 1 card that I have coming up here, and I know you're going to be arguing with me down below that this shouldn't be number 1. Don't put that number 1. That doesn't make sense. We'll get to reason why I made it number 1 as well, and why what probably should be listed as number 1, or what people are viewing as number 1, is not in this list, is because I'll get to that. I'll explain it more. My number 1 choice is Skewer the Critics. Skewer the Critics is a dope card, guys. Mono red win, red deck wins in standard, runs, you know, you're running a playset of these with Wizard's Lightning. Okay, so in other words, now I have 2 playsets of essentially lightning bolts, because I run plenty of wizards in the deck. This card, almost 100% of the time, I am casting for its spectacle cost. That is freaking huge. That is a big, big thing. That's a big deal, especially in standard. And this doesn't just hit it doesn't just hit players. This hits any target. So I can hit the Planeswalker, I can hit my opponent, and I can hit his creatures for 3. Early game, it gets rid of creatures that I don't want to deal with, or it just domes my opponent to the head for a nice hard amount. And it makes them think twice about overextending. This card is very, very good. Currently, at its value for these cards, we're looking at, you know, let's take a look here. So this card, value-wise, it's pretty good in regards to its value as well. It's just over the $1 mark, just over the $1 mark. Then now the prices I'm pulling are based from Card Kingdom, and so I mean you can go off your own prices if you want, but I'll give you a couple different pricings. So this card itself on Card Kingdom, like I said, it's marked at $1.49 in mint condition. That's pretty big. We've got two commons in this set that are over $1. Actually, both of them, I'm gonna mark this as over $1.50. These two cards are the two cards that the next one I'll be going after for after pass number 1. These are cards that are really good. They're not bad at all. And screw the critics on Star City Games alone. They have it running at $1. They're very heavily underestimating. This is actually a card that I would tell anyone, value-wise, you should be picking up as many of them as you can, just to purely speculate on them. This is a card that's being picked up in Modern as well. It's being tested in Fringe Modern. It's even being tested in Main Modern for red deck wins because it's that good. I mean, being able to hit my opponent for a crap ton of damage with multiple lightning bolts on my turn, it's pretty big, really pretty big. I really like this card. It's a great red card. I think that it's very powerful, and for it being a common, that was a mistake on Wizards' end. I think R&D didn't take this into consideration appropriately, because this card itself is it's a little too powerful for being a common. It really needs to be an uncommon. I don't see it hitting a rare level, to be honest. I don't think it's powerful enough to be a rare, but I think it should have been an uncommon. I think it was more of a mistake for them to do that. The next card, now those are my top 5. Those are my top 5. Those are my top 5 picks. And there's a card that I'm pretty sure many of you are yelling at the screen right now or complaining that, and I don't blame you, that I didn't include one. And it's the number 1 card in the set for commons, King. You don't understand. This card's really powerful. It's obscenely good. It works so much better than many of the other cards that are similar to it. And I agree with you. It is number 1. And that's the reason why I actually made it my all-star. I made this my all-star card because of its power. Persistent Petitioners is the most overpowered common in a set that I have seen in a very, very long time. Not even the Rats card from Dominaria matches this card's power level. It has 3 abilities on it, and it only costs 2. So you're looking at a 1 blue, 1 colorless card. It's a creature card with a big butt, a 1/3. That's already pretty okay. A 1/3 bear, kind of in a way, is not bad, or And then you're looking at an ability of pay 1 and tap it, and it makes your opponent put the top card of their library in the graveyard. Oh, cool. So it mills. At that point in time, as a common card, I'm like, okay, draftability, it's all right. Might have 1 or 2 of them in the deck just because it's a good blocker, and I can get rid of some cards that are problematic off the top of my opponent's deck. Then it continues to go on. And then you're like, wait, what? Wait, I can have as many of them in my deck as I want? Wait, that's only something that we've seen in black cards in Magic the Gathering's history, and primarily within Rats, or a human that's an apostle that brings us demons. This card is blue. Why would blue have something like this? This is freaking crazy. And then to add on to that, tap 4 untapped advisors that you control, and target player puts the top 12 cards of their library into their graveyard. 12 cards. That is not insignificant. That's almost a quarter of your opponent's deck. that is big, really, really, really big, and really important to take into consideration of how powerful that card is, and really needs to be, looked at pretty harshly there. In my opinion, this is a card that should have been marked as an uncommon card. Probably actually even a rare in some instances. Power-wise, it's just so good. It's so powerful. And what it provides for playability in the game is pretty awesome. In Standard, there's not enough advisor creature types in the game to really cause a lot of havoc. In Modern, there's a lot more advisors, and this is a card that I plan on building a deck around for it. It's a card that I can actually run in Commander multiples of, and even build an advisor deck in there. And then I can do this in Legacy if I really wanted to. I don't think it'd ever be as powerful in Legacy, but I could definitely see it being something interesting fringe-wise in Modern, and definitely going to be picked up in Commander. I expect seeing people doing some Commander builds. I probably will do a Commander build list with this. It'll be a 3-color Commander deck. Well, with that being said, everyone, I do want to thank you so much. This has actually been really awesome these last few months since we started doing the show, being a little bit more aggressive in the video play, and doing gameplays and stuff with everyone at the beginning of the year here, and doing some MTG Arena as well as doing Minecraft. This is really quite interesting, and I actually have my daughter down here real quick, so she's come down to say good night to Daddy. So I'm gonna give her a hug here while I close off with you guys. I just want to thank you all so much for coming out, listening to the show, giving us the time that is yours to interact with us and to watch our videos. It's really quite awesome. Make sure you check out the rest of the channel. If this is your first time coming in, make sure you like and subscribe the video, and hit that bell button so that you know when the next video comes out, or you know when the next live show is. And with that being said, I just want to thank you guys so much for having come out and watched Commonly Good. My name's King's Knight of Playing Discord, and you all have a great night. You are all awesome. I'll talk to you later.